Welcome back to LEGO BattleBots Season 3. It is time for the bracket reveal. Well, we already know which bots made it, and you might not remember, but where did they all rank? And who got the top 4 seeds? Well, obviously the 4 no bots. But who got what seeds? It's time to find out. Starting off with Quadrant 4, as usual, and the number 4 overall seed is Orbital Fire. Season 1's number 2 overall seed got knocked down in the round of 32, missed the tournament in Season 2, and now is finally back at the top of the pecking order, one of only 4 bots to go 4-0, taking their final win against Witch Doctor in the regular season. Obviously one of the most powerful flippers in the competition. Let's see what competition they have in this part of the bracket. Alright, so we've got a very interesting mix of bots here. Orbital Fire starts off by taking on the 29 seed Hammerhead, who got a pretty dominant win over Yeti in a play-in match to even qualify for the tournament at all. And having Orbital Fire, or a bot that can't really be damaged too much by the hammer and also has a somewhat effective ground game, that's going to be a difficult fight for Hammerhead, but it's supposed to be 4 versus 29. It's not supposed to be a close match. Moving to just below that, a very fascinating fight. Kraken getting the 13 seed. Kind of surprised that they're that high, taking on the 20 seed Huge. Huge getting a little improvement from last season, as it was like 24, it was 25 of last season. I think Kraken was actually somewhere like 9. I don't know. It wasn't 19 Kraken. I don't think Kraken made a tournament at all. 19. I don't remember if Kraken made a tournament in Season 2, but this could be the first time. This could always be their second, but it's not the first time for Huge, and that's just a very strange fight. And who knows how that's going to play out. And we've already have a rematch. Mannerheim as the number 5 seed, the highest ranked 3-1 bot, taking on the 28 seed Duck. Very fascinating fight. Mannerheim, of course, was able to take the win pretty easily in that rematch against Duck earlier in the season. And we'll see if they can do it again, or if Duck can manage to get revenge. I mean, Duck was able to upset Witch Doctor in last season's round 32. Maybe they could do it for Mannerheim. Who knows? And rounding out this quadrant, Monochrome versus Radical. A drum versus a 4-bar spinner. A fun fact, in the original take of Season 3, before I realized I had marked Cobalt versus Deadlift wrong, Monochrome and Radical were still supposed to fight in the round of 32. So that's pretty interesting that we still have this matchup even in the official run. And Monochrome was able to take the win in that fight, in that round of 32 match, in the unofficial Season 3, the first run. So they could probably do it again. I mean, they've got a very powerful drum spinner. They're fairly durable. But we did see them get ripped apart against Bloodsport earlier on in the season. That Reticle is not a weak spinner. Sure, they haven't had the greatest of luck, but they could have very well gone 4-0 this season with how much damage they caused. They could have beaten Huge, but that unfortunately cost them. But who knows? Reticle could annihilate Monochrome. Monochrome could just flip Reticle or something. We'll have to see what that fight leads. Now we move on to Quadrant 3, and last season Quadrant 3 was home to the runner-up Whiplash, who went 4-0 this season. But did they take this quadrant, or did they take a higher one? Let's see who got the number 3 overall seed. And it is Hydra. Hydra takes the 3 seed. Over Orbital Fire, it did have a bit tougher strength of schedule, having to face his former 3rd place Uppercut, who also went 3-1 this season. And Hydra is the highest ranked rookie of this season. Not the highest ranked rookie of all time. That honor would go to the other Glitch, who claimed the number 2 seed, but still, number 3 overall in this field is incredibly impressive. Sure, they didn't have the greatest competition, but now they're going to have a chance to prove that they truly are one of the top bots in the field. Let's see who they'll go up against in this quadrant. And some very more interesting fights in this bracket. Hydra starting off their first ever run to the trophy against the 30 seed Cobalt. Cobalt was able to get the 31 seed last season, take on the other Glitch, which they did not do well at, and this is technically an improvement for them, and I honestly think they could upset Hydra. and they beat Sun and Waiachi in the play-in match, they could take on the other Waiachi bot. They could get underneath Hydra. Is not the lowest bot in the field. We've seen them struggle with ground issues for most of this season. And also in their challengers match against Endgame, especially in that fight, so taking on Vertical Spreader could be tough for Hydra. And going up next, Gigabyte versus Bronco, two old bots that have not changed much since Season 1 and are back in contention. Gigabyte, of course, made the round of 16 before falling to Tantrum all the way back in Season 1, while Bronco was eliminated by Swamp Fang immediately. That was an interesting fight. But who knows how that one's going to go. Both bots absolutely have the capability to defeat each other. And then in Hydra Cobalt, who knows how that fight's going to end out. And then the number 6 seed Nemesis, the channel mascot, enters the ring. They have not missed a top 8 seed in all 3 seasons they've been a part in, taking on the rookie in the 27 seed Venom Strike. Venom Strike has had some tough matches against Gigabyte and against Inverse, but Nemesis is just an entirely different kind of monster for them to be taking on, so it was very interesting to see how Venom Strike will adapt and react to such a powerful bot. And finally, the 11 seed Titan versus the 22 seed Stormbound. Titan was able to take the 11 seed last season, actually. Was able to defeat Fusion in that one before falling to the 6 seed in Whiplash. And Stormbound has had some pretty good success. They've taken out some pretty good bots this time around, and they haven't had as high a seed as they would like. They're still in the tournament, and we could be seeing a Nemesis Titan rematch in the round of 16 is what I'm looking at here in this quadrant. That, if it does happen, would be incredibly interesting. Now we move up to quadrant number 2, and the only 2 undefeated bots left were the 2 favorites in the poll to take the number 1 seed. So which one did claim that goal, and which one has to settle for second in the bracket? And it is Riptide who takes the number 2 overall seed. They have been on absolute tear this season. Their drum has been ripping apart all opponents in their path. Sure, those haven't been the best opponents, but they've been doing some serious damage. Those frame issues that plagued them last season seem to have completely vanished, so Riptide seems to be in incredible position to sweep this quadrant of the bracket. However, the 2 seed, along with the 8 seed, it is the only top 8 seed, or the only top 8 seeds, to not make the quarterfinals, falling in Season 1 in the round of 32. Whiplash upset Orbital Fire, and in Season 2, the other glitch was knocked out by the 15 seed Mannerheim in the round of 16. So let's see what competition Riptide will have to go to in order to change that curse. We have a lot of big names in this part of the bracket. We're not starting off with those. Obviously, Fusion is not exactly the pinnacle of greatness in this competition, though they did make the tournament last season, though they did get eliminated in the first round by Titan. And Fusion could prove an interesting challenge for Riptide. I mean, it does usually for most bots. Sometimes those forks could always cause problems for Riptide, but they might just get ripped clean off and Fusion get flipped over. I'm still predicting Riptide to win that one and go through. And the next one is going to be a very interesting match. Gingerbread and Retribution. Gingerbread became a cult favorite for all of 5 seconds last season. And when it took on Tantrum in the round of 32, it lost that fight. And thus subsequently lost its cult, I believe. I don't know if they're still around, but I'm still being cautious. But taking on Retribution, a bot that has not seen much success before and has finally had the right matchups it's needed to take a tournament spot. Decently acceptable at number 18, top 20 is still pretty solid. They nearly beat Nemesis in Season 1 and are looking to bring back that luck and combine it with their current momentum to try and rip through this part of the bracket. And that round of 16 match between probably Riptide and then a rematch versus Gingerbread or a match against Retribution would be incredibly interesting to watch. And then Bloodsport versus Uppercut. That's last season's number 3 overall seed, fell just short of going 4-0 this time around, of course being stopped by Nemesis. So they are still one of the most dominant bots in the entire field. They're taking on Season 1's third place Uppercut, who's bouncing back onto the scene. And though they did struggle a bit to get here, of course, they had to go through Blip in that play match, but they didn't have too much trouble there. So I don't think Uppercut as is in the greatest match here against Bloodsport. They are historically not great against horizontal spinners, but we'll see if they can manage to pull something wacky off against Bloodsport. I mean, Whiplash was able to pull something wacky off against Bloodsport to defeat them in last season's quarterfinal, so who knows? And rounding out this quadrant, Tantrum versus the Elementals, a very interesting fight. The Elementals have been proving surprisingly competent this season, the only multibot in the competition, and they're currently sitting at a 4-1 overall record. They're just 3-1 this season. But who knows how they're going to do, and they could, if they choose the right bot, they could get the upper hand over Tantrum. I mean, but who knows what that's going to be. I mean, Tantrum is a very solid, very successful bot, runner-up in Season 1, quarterfinalist in Season 2. So I'd say Tantrum's still the favorite, but the Elementals could pull off a surprising upset here. And finally, we're at Quadrant 1. We've already done the elimination here. We already know which bot will claim the number 1 overall seed, so let's just reveal it right now. And as expected, it is Whiplash who takes the number 1 seed in the poll. They got like 63% of the vote or something. It was a large amount, and I'm not surprised why. The defending runner-up, of course, and obviously as well, they had some dominant matches. I mean, sure, none of their opponents were able to successfully make the playoffs, but you look at their list: Siege Engine, Hypershock, Thunderbolt, Yeti. Those are bots that have done well, and 2 of those bots almost made the playoffs this season. And those are all bots that have made the top 8 at some point in the past. And Siege Engine, I'd say this has got a little unlucky this season against Hammerhead and Sawblaze. This is a bot that Whiplash here that can really do it all. Let's see what kind of competition they've got in this quadrant. Truly a really fascinating selection to round out this quadrant. Starting off, Whiplash takes on Deadlift, who is surprisingly in the tournament. They won that Rumble in the play-in matches in order to get here, and this is I've been telling you they can do well, and they're finally doing well. But they're taking on the number 1 seed in Whiplash, so that's going to be a tough fight for them. The 16-17 match, Cherry Blossom versus Switchback. That is a tough one. Switchback gaining a couple seeds from last season when they took on Monochrome as the 23 seed. Cherry Blossom, of course, a rookie. They got surprisingly defeated by Blip, but they tore apart the rest of their opponents in order to get here. And Cherry Blossom is a very powerful, very dangerous horizontal spinner that could, if they win and defeat Switchback, though Switchback is pretty durable, if they win here, and so does Whiplash, that would be a very interesting round of 16 match. Whiplash nearly lost to Bloodsport in the quarterfinals last season, and Cherry Blossom is a very similar bot, but how similar is it? Could it accomplish the same thing, or would Whiplash be able to get the win? That fight, if it does happen, would be just fascinating to watch. And then Eye of the Storm versus Sawblaze. That's a fight that's going to be incredibly interesting to see. The defending champion slips in after an absolutely epic clash versus Siege Engine in the final main event of the regular season in that final play-in match, taking on the seed they used to be. 8 seed Eye of the Storm getting very high, very impressive for them, but they did have some pretty strong and convincing wins this season. And Sawblaze, of course, got the number 8 seed in Season 1 and then was immediately eliminated by Blip, so it's interesting to see what they'll do on the other side of the table. Well, of course, the 8 seed along with the 2 seed, the only two top 8 seeds to not make the quarterfinals at all, was going to be always fascinating to see. But finally, our final match, Copperhead as the 9 seed versus Snowfall as the 24 seed. Bet you forgot that Snowfall was even in this tournament. They won the Desperado pretty convincingly, upsetting the Season 1 champion Bite Force to knock them out in the second round, which was very good for them. But Copperhead has been on a roll this season. Their weapon power has certainly been reduced, but those reliability issues have been worked out, and they have been absolutely amazing this season. They even managed to defeat Tantrum of all bots, so that is going to be a bot C. This group, I'd say, looks like the group to keep an eye on for a potential champion here. And just to recap, here is the full bracket. I know the text is kind of small, but I'll post it I'll post it in the community tab, and it'll be bigger anyway, so you'll be able to see that easier. Your top 4 seeds: Orbital Fire, Hydra, Riptide, and Whiplash. And we just got a fascinating mix of rookies, these current contenders, and old bots that's rising back into contention for the title. This is going to be probably one of the best brackets we've seen on the channel. But who do you guys think is going to win? Post your predictions down in the comments below, and whoever gets the most right will get absolutely nothing,